Hey, good evening and welcome. Kind of a special edition of the Bill Michaels Show and/or podcast, whatever you want to call it. Our it's interesting tonight because Trey Wingo set the world on fire a little bit earlier today when he had a tweet that came out, and his tweet basically said that the deal is done, that the wheels are now in motion, and that Aaron Rodgers is going to become a New York Jet. As a matter of fact, his exact quote was, "Hearing Rodgers to the Jets is done. History about to repeat itself between New York and Green Bay. Time is indeed a flat circle." So that being said, um, the I know that Ian Rappaport, I know that Garofalo, I know that Adam Schefter, everybody has said, nope, nope, it's not happening. Let me kind of give you some background on this before everybody jumps to the conclusion that it's not happening. What I believe, and just in knowing what I know, is that Rodgers has, in some way, shape, or form, notified the Jets or the Packers to say this is okay. I think I'm good with that. What that did was then set into motion the negotiation. There's a belief, okay, and I know Andrew Brandt put it out that the Packers know what Rodgers is doing, the Jets know what Rodgers is doing. Rodgers has made it clear, and then others have said, "Hey, Andrew, no, it's not clear." Okay, so and I know there's a lot of opinion on this. I don't know why people get so angry. It's not true. We got punked. You're a fucking liar. This and that. It's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. You have to understand how this particular situation kind of works. And what I believe is that Rodgers, in some way, shape, or form, has gotten a hold of one, his agent, the parties involved, whomever. And that got the ball rolling. Like he came to the decision, like, okay, look, the Packers have moved on. The Packers' mentality clearly has moved on. So it was either retire or the Jets. And I think, and like Flat Smack says, it was clickbait. Who was it clickbait by? Who was it clickbait by? Flat Smack, you're there. Come back. Say who was it clickbait by? I'm waiting. We're all waiting. You're the one that took time to say clickbait, and then you said you hit enter. So I want to know. Because this has been the same. I went through the same thing when we had said that morning on the draft, and I said Rodgers was not happy with the Packers, and people came at me and said, clickbait, liar, the whole thing. Um, Rodgers does know Trey Wingo. Trey Wingo was with ESPN. Also, don't forget, if ESPN and the NFL Network kind of get punked, they deny it until their people get it. Just an FYI. So it's not all the time, but there are certain circumstances that things have broken and it took them a while to confirm it. And then the world went, oh, okay. It doesn't mean it didn't happen. So what I think happened is, let me kind of back up here and say this. What I think happened is Wingo found out that Rodgers made some type of a decision to someone. I don't know who. He doesn't say. And I don't want to kind of speculate, but I would assume that either the agent or to Goody or to Murphy or to LaFleur or to one of his guys or maybe to one of the guys on the Jets, because you saw the tweet from some of the Jets players that came out prior to this. I think what happened was is he probably said, okay, we'll start the ball rolling, or let Wingo know that we'll start the ball rolling in some way, shape, or form. And I think what people are waiting for is like official stuff, like what the compensation is going to be, what the money is going to be, who's going to eat what, and then to work out the details. I think that when Trey Wingo reported this, I think he had like inside of the inside of the inside. And this might have even been there just before the teams got all involved in all of this. But I think by tomorrow, you're going to hear all of this kind of confirmed. And then you'll go, oh, okay, it really did. The ball did start yesterday. But I don't think they have the compensation aspect of this worked out. And I'll be honest, I would assume, now you got to assume, you and I would both figure that the Packers have already talked to the Jets and the Jets have already talked to the Packers, like, you know, whatever. And by the way, when you say, Kevin, when you say Wingo equals the inner circle, LOL, he is a friend. Him and Kenny Mayne and those guys, some of those guys from ESPN, they are friends of his. They are friends of Rodgers. Now, I don't know how close, but you can say LOL, but you look like an idiot. Just an FYI. Mike says a lot of fans are in denial right now. The writing's been on the wall. Do these same people question every report that comes in? No, they don't. That's just it. That's just it. They don't go, I mean, news has been breaking all day. Nothing's official. Nothing can be made official later down the road, but everybody is saying, oh my God, look at all the deals that the Bears did today. Look at all the deals that Miami did today. Look what they're doing. Look what they're getting, but you can't make it technically legal until the new season, the new NFL league year starts, but nobody questions those. It's just by one guy, and it's not reported by Schefter. Remember, Schefter was the guy who said Aaron Rodgers is never going back to Green Bay. And I think Adam Schefter's a good reporter. 99.9% of the stuff that he reports comes true. But he's been wrong on some stuff. Everybody's been wrong on some stuff. But God damn, you think that, people just killed your parents because they reported something that you didn't want to hear or you couldn't confirm yourself. So it's go fuck you. Doesn't work that way. You just kind of say, here it is, John says, wait till the McAfee show tomorrow. And he says the Jets aren't happening. People are trying too hard around here. Well, maybe that's true. But what if he does say, hey, I've decided to go and I'll play for the Jets. Are you going to come back on here and say, boy, I was wrong? That's the thing, is when you do this for a living, you hang your cheese on the wind every day for 4 hours, or you put a tweet out there when people follow you and you say, hey, this is going on. People don't want to believe it, or they say, no, it's not confirmed. I had a guy today argue with me because the Packers haven't stated it and Rodgers never stated it. It's not true. Okay. Remember when the contract was signed, Rodgers is the one that denied. He said, that's not true. I never signed for 3 years, $150 million. He actually said that. Remember that? Bueller. Nobody came in and said, oh shit, I was wrong. I was wrong on it. I'm not sitting here to say I'm right or wrong. I'm sitting here to say what Trey Wingo tweeted out. I believe Trey Wingo's been around a long time. He's been trusted for 20 plus years. He doesn't make stuff up. He just doesn't do that. I think that because remember, he was also the guy that said, hey, the Jets are taking off to California. And everybody went, bullshit. They're not flying out to meet Rodgers. Why would they do that? And they did. Or Brian, you bring up a great point. He was also the guy that says, yeah, I'm immunized. He wasn't vaccinated. Remember, we took him at his word then. So I think it's probably hours away, not days away from being official. As far as the rest of the mass media getting it. But I put it, we had 2 minutes on the air today to talk about it. And we put it out there, and it was immediately met with a lot of people saying, hey, thanks, Aaron. A lot of people saying, hey, good riddance. And then it was met with this anger. Clickbait, lying motherfucker. I was going back and forth with people over on Facebook, people on Twitter, people on Instagram. It's like, why the hate? Why the hate? Why? So I thought I'd come on tonight and do something extra, just because you and me, Dan, we don't know what the compensation is yet. That might be some of the things. Might be the reason we don't have anything that's been labeled as official yet. Because if they don't have the compensation worked out, then it could blow up. Nicholas said, why do people think that Love is being a starting quarterback for the Pack? Just because he threw 9 passes and they were spectacular. I guess. I don't know. Man, it's coming fast and furious today. If Rodgers leaving bothers you that much, look inward. I'm very happy to have decades of Pro Bowl quarterback play. I don't think it bothers anybody. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, the way this whole thing went down, Tyler says, is there still a chance Rodgers stays? Anything can happen. Anything can happen. I mean, that could be the reason that nobody said anything like officially, because, okay, here's the thing. If you find out tomorrow on the Pat McAfee show, then do you come back and go, Pat McAfee was right? Or do you come back and go, Trey Wingo was right? And what Trey, because I'm not taking credit for it. Remember that. I'm repeating what was stated. And Trey was the guy that had the Jets call early on. So where's Wingo getting his info? Well, who cares? He's either getting it from the Jets or from Rodgers camp, one of the two. Because remember, he was the guy that also said and tweeted out that the Jets are heading off to fly to meet Aaron Rodgers, right? So what? Do you question every report that's out there? Did you question every breaking piece of news today in the NFL that said, a player A was being? Did you question it when the Bears were trading away the first round pick? Well, where are they getting their sources? Bullshit. I don't believe it until it happens. Okay. Sometimes you just kind of got to go with it. Tell me this. What report? There were some reports about Rodgers, I will give you this, that were wrong when it came to going into the darkness and all that kind of stuff. And you got to kind of take him at his word, because he didn't give you an exact date. The only thing he said was he would make a decision, and he wanted to go in and get clarity. He would make a decision when he came out, which we all expected him to do like right after, but he never gave a date. And Rodgers said he would try to get it done before the start of free agency. So with everything that's gone on, with Mark Murphy talking about him in the past tense, and there was one of the questions Mark Murphy answered, I thought it was a terrific interview at the girls basketball championship this past weekend. And the question was, do you think that Aaron Rodgers could still be the quarterback of the Green Bay Packers? And Mark Murphy said, well, yeah, if this doesn't work out. Well, then he backed up and said, well, if and he tried to kind of like put the shit back in the horse. By the way, Rick, Cedarburg cider, man, bourbon, cider, a little bit of orange bitters, great stuff. So anyway, but he tried to kind of put the shit back in the horse, and by then he'd already got it, kind of let it slip out. I appreciate Mark's honesty. I mean, it's good to see, good to hear. But I think at that point, it was kind of like, yeah, it's pretty much done. And this is always the caveat to this. I said right after the Packers got beat up by Detroit, and for those of you that watch me every day or listen to me every day, you know what I'm about to say. I said, if you're Brian Gutekunst, let Aaron have his moments. Let him go, for the next month and a half, whatever. Let him go. Don't put pressure on him. Just let him go, contemplate what he wants to do. And then you either call him or you text him or you go visit him, whatever it is. You look him in the eye or you text him and you say, look, and Gutekunst said, we're not in this. We didn't sign this to be a one-year deal, but we expect a return on our investment, right? So you go to Aaron, you look him in the eye and you say, Aaron, look, this is the deal. $60 million, man. We're paying you. We love you. You're the quarterback of the Green Bay Packers. There's a lot of history here. We want to respect your feelings, respect your wishes, and respect what you're thinking. But last year we did it this particular way. We brought all these guys back. I know we couldn't bring Devontae back. That's water under the bridge. But we try to keep everybody around you. We try to give you the best team we could. All that kind of stuff. But we need you all in. The young guys didn't progress the way we had hoped. There were some injuries. It took you a while to get the chemistry. And here's the other thing. And the old adage is, if you're not working to get better, then you're not getting better. Doing nothing does not make you better. And people say, well, it's only 5 days. It's only 6 practices. It's only this. It's only that. Why should he come in? Defend Aaron Rodgers. That's fine. But my question is, what does it hurt? What could it possibly have hurt to be there? And don't forget, Patrick Mahomes, when he got new guys, he said, shit, I got to get there. We got to get together, man. He was taking them to dinner. They were getting this camaraderie going. They were working out in the facility. They were throwing balls outside. Where'd Dad get them? Shit. Let's think about that for a minute. Anybody want to raise their hand out there? Super Bowl, right? I'm not saying that it would have gotten the Packers the Super Bowl, but what I'm saying is it doesn't hurt to be there. So my thought is that they called Aaron or texted Aaron and said, hey, we want you here. We want this. We want that. Kind of gave him not necessarily train tracks to stay on, but gave him a road to drive down and guardrails to say, hey, you got to stay in this area, right? And maybe Aaron just said, I mean, remember in the middle of June, I think it's when they're doing one of the mini camps. He's going to be one of the keynote speakers at a psychedelic convention. And maybe he said, well, I can be here for this, but I can't do this because I got this speaking engagement at a psychedelic convention and I got this going on and I've got that. And I think they probably just said, you know what? You're not all in. That's not what we're looking for. So what would you like? Would you like to be traded? Do you want to retire? Because if you're not going to be all in, or maybe you take some time to think about it and let us know. Maybe that's what he's been contemplating. And let us know what you want to do. And maybe Rodgers just said, you know what? I don't want to be treated this way. I don't want to be confined. I mean, I don't know. I'm only speculating here. But I think that's when lights started to break today. And I think word leaked out a little bit to some people on the quote inner circle. And I think Trey Wingo's either one of them or on the outside looking in of that circle, at least close enough to it. And then that was it. That was when word got out. So I think that's how it came about. I think now the compensation side of this is going to start to really roll fast down the hill. The Jets got rid of Mike White today. Joe Flacco's unsigned as the backup, which means they only have one quarterback on the roster. They've made room for Rodgers. They've been renegotiating contracts and redoing contracts all weekend long. The room's there now. Now all Aaron has to do is walk through the door. Garoppolo signed with the Raiders, So Derek Carr is now in New Orleans. Guys are moving around. Mike White went to Miami. He knew he wasn't coming back and wasn't going to play. I think that writing that's going to be on the wall started to be spray painted on the wall earlier today, thus the Trey Wingo comment, because he's got some kind of information. He's got it. And I don't think there's many people that doubt Trey Wingo. I do find it funny that his former station, ESPN, who cut him loose, was so quick to deny it because Diana Rossini and Adam Schefter were getting scooped. They fucking hate it. Fucking hate it. Back when Paul Allen, voice of the Vikings, scooped everybody, said, hey, San Francisco's checking on Aaron Rodgers. Then I reported it. I was motherfucked. He was motherfucked. What would a piece of shit from Minnesota have to do with the Green Bay Packers? And he was right. He was right. Shanahan admitted it in a presser. Said, yeah, we gave him a call. Wanted to see if there was an availability for Aaron Rodgers. Rodgers people got wind of it. Said, yeah, if that's the direction they want to go and they want to trade me to San Francisco, he'd be amenable to that. So it's happening. It's just happening in a little more behind the scenes. And remember, Aaron said, nobody says anything in my inner circle about nothing unless I want him to. And Trey Wingo, again, think about this. Why would he make it up? He's got too much credibility, man. Why would he make it up? So that's it. I think that's kind of how things broke down today, and things began to kind of matriculate towards what we're going to see tomorrow or hear tomorrow, which I'm sure. Hey, Elijah George is chiming in. Brian, what up? Robert says less than a number one would be ridiculous. I would love to see him get a number one. I'd love to see him get two number ones, one this year and then and then the maybe a conditional pick going into next season. But yeah. Boy, we got a lot of people chiming in. Can I I'm gonna look down here, people, because I gotta look down to get everybody. So I'm gonna go backwards. Used to work for Disney, so anything that makes them look bad works for me. There you go. Thanks for the chat, Heather. You the woman. You're the woman. Rodgers looking at jumping the fact a retired number will become unretired for him to play in that number. I believe that's first. And remember, that was what Joe Namath said. Joe Namath said that if Rodgers wanted to play as a New York Jet, he could then resurrect the Joe Namath number 12. So there you go. Kevin says, hence my joke about Wingo in the inner circle. Okay, I'm done. Kevin, you whatever. What else we got? Hello from Elijah, Georgia. I think most of what people are saying is Wingo is the only one that is saying anything. No other reporters have jumped on it. It's a little quiet for people to believe yet. I understand that. That's why we're here today. That's why we're here today. And Scott, you bring up a great point. How awkward would it be to the Jets locker room if this isn't true? And Sauce Gardner has to retract his tweet because Sauce Gardner said, I talked him here, I willed him here, or something like that. Other guys are saying, here we go. I feel at ease now. I can go on my vacation. I can enjoy myself. They believe it's done deal too. There was other people inside the New York Jets locker room tweeting this out today. It wasn't just Trey Wingo. Okay? So remember that. So you're right. How awkward will it be if suddenly Zach Wilson comes walking through those doors again? 100% agree with you. Yeah, and Dave says the same thing. You know, hey, if he's gone, we're glad we had him for the period of time we did. Let's see here. Love the attitude. Thank you, David. I think he announces using a Press Gazette article. I think the deal is done, but he wants to do it his way. He will use McAfee as his platform to talk about how he got to his decision. And I believe that too. I mean, trying to think, and maybe you can tell me, did he go on McAfee last year to talk about coming back? Because I remember he went on McAfee when word broke. I remember when word broke on his contract of 3 years, $50 million, and it got out. And he said, and if I'm not mistaken, I think that was Adam Schefter at the time, and he refuted that. He said that's not it. That's false. I think he went as far as to say it's a lie. And it turned out that that's exactly what it was. So, if I'm not mistaken, but I think he did go on McAfee in some way, shape, or form. David says, yeah, the media frenzy with Brett was far more, far busier. Yeah. Yep. Rasul Douglas posted a picture of him. Is there any info what the return would be for Aaron? Not yet. I mean, we're all assuming it's going to be a number one, but with the Jets being the only bidder in this whole thing, could be a number two. It could depend on how much compensation, monetary compensation, and cap relief the Packers are going to get too. Rick says, I bet that he says on McAfee that the Packers didn't want him. Okay. I'd nod my head and then say, okay, we'll explain it. Explain it, but we won't get that. What if it breaks the news tonight at 10 Eastern time with NFLSN showing the Packers Jets 2018? Okay. I would wait for the breaking news in the next couple of days to say that Jordan Love and what is it, 2023, say 2035, that Jordan Love is being traded to the New York Jets. Phantom says, don't be surprised if we get less than a first rounder. I think it's going to depend on the compensation, on the money aspect of it. Kevin, you're welcome, man. Appreciate it. Joking about the Jets Packers Super Bowl, which would be nice. What else do we got? We got so much. Um, let's see here. I'm just trying to see. First, Brett Favre wins for Green Bay, then goes to the Jets. Now Rodgers goes to the Jets. Does that mean he's going to go to Minnesota afterwards? I can't imagine. He knew how much that hurt a lot of people when Brett went to Minnesota. You know what I mean? Um, Rob 920 says, "Help me understand why Rodgers and the Packers signed a 3-year deal." Rodgers did it for control because he's got the control right now. Rodgers put that deal together, and we had, I've had a couple of capologists that we've had on, specifically Andrew Brand, who said this completely favored Rodgers. He said it was not a great move by the Packers, but if you believe that Rodgers was going to commit to you for the next 3 years, then it's not a bad deal. But it gave Aaron all the control. And I know people say it doesn't, but it really does, because you don't want to just say, okay, screw you, retire, or be Jordan Love's backup. And then if he retires, you're beholden to the 40 million cap hit. And you get nothing for him, as opposed to the ability to kind of keep him happy and trade him away. But this really does give Rodgers power if he kind of goes out on the terms that he would like. Now, the fact that the Packers want him to be all in, and maybe that's not amenable to him, I don't know. Maybe this is where we're at. RJ says 1 Super Bowl win. He has underachieved with the ability. He has infinite more natural talent than Brady, but nowhere near the heart or commitment. See, I got to take a little bit of an issue with that, because I've talked about this time and again. He doesn't get to some of these NFC Championship games without willing them there. That team, go back to right after they beat Dallas. Remember that amazing throw to Jared Cook on the sideline? That final drive, they're driving down the field. They throw the ball to Jared Cook. Jared Cook falls out of bounds. Mason Crosby kicks the field goal and puts them into the NFC Championship game. They had no business being there. They weren't that good. They got dump trucked by Atlanta. Remember that? They weren't that good. The game against San Francisco, Rodgers did everything he could. That defense was really good of San Francisco. Remember, the Packers defense sucked. I mean, they were terrible. Mostert ran for over 240 yards in that game. They couldn't get off the field. They couldn't give him the ball back. Let's just say the playoff game a couple of years ago against San Francisco. Yeah, Rodgers and the offense didn't play well, but remember, 10 points was given up by special teams. They sucked. If Aaron Jones doesn't fumble the football against Detroit, chances are they beat Detroit. If Aaron Jones doesn't fumble the football against Tampa Bay, chances are it keeps the momentum and the Packers score again and they end up winning that game. If Mercedes Lewis doesn't fumble against San Francisco, they lost the turnover battles. The 2014 in Seattle, if Bostic doesn't grab that ball, if Morgan Burnett doesn't go down because Julius Peppers tells him to, if Clay Matthews doesn't pull himself off the field, if Morgan Burnett knows where to go on a 2-point conversion, none of those things had to do with Rodgers. You know what I mean? So I can't lay it all at his feet and just go, Rodgers underachieved. He sucked. No, you can't do that, because there were so many other factors. I'll defend Rodgers as the day is long in a lot of those areas. I've always tried to keep it real. Now, also in that Seattle game, you can look in that third quarter where Mike McCarthy went run. He started playing the clock way too early. Look at the game that he played against the Rams to get to the NFC Championship game. He beat the shit out of the Rams, beat up a good defense. They weren't a Super Bowl winning defense, but beat up a pretty good defense. Nobody remembers that. All they remember is, you lost, you suck. So sometimes you got to put all that stuff into perspective. Thomas said, I've always felt like we could win with 12 under center for the past 15 years, 4 MVPs, 1 Super Bowl, and so many mind-bending throws. He had incredible throws. He's played incredible football. Had a few mistakes, and there were times where you wanted to see a little more kind of gusto down the stretch, specifically say to run the ball in against Tampa Bay, when he chose to, make a bad pass and throw it errantly incomplete, and he was thinking he had 4 downs, and Matt LaFleur was thinking he only had 3, and they kicked the field goal, and that turned to shit in a hurry. I mean, you can look at all of that stuff. Right? Look at Kevin King, the bomb at halftime. Scotty Miller over the top, man. Kevin King. So there's a lot of deals that you can look at and you can say, I can't lay it all at his feet. Sometimes you just have to think, and you could probably lay it more so at Ted Thompson's feet, right? You can go back and go Dayton Jones, Brad Jones, Nick Perry. You start going through that list when they needed a defense. Rodgers had Woodson, right? Those two guys, bam, bam, man. They ended up connecting. Wonder Twin powers activate. Defense was rolling. Offense was rolling. Great weapons on both. Charles Woodson elevated the level of guys like Tramon Williams and Sam Shields and Nick Collins, and they had it. Clay was rushing off the edge, the best year out of A.J. Hawk. All those linebackers, Zombos and Papingas and all those guys. They had Cullen Jenkins, Ryan Pickett. They had B.J. Raji, C.J. Wilson. They had Howard Green they picked up. Howard Green was leaving the Jets and driving down to New Orleans, and they called him. He turned his car around and came to Green Bay because he thought he could win a championship. And all that beef up front for Dom Capers, it all came together. Kevin Green on the sideline, go get me the ball. All that came together. You haven't had that. What player on defense could you rely upon? Right? I mean, you had some guys. The Smith brothers were exciting. You were still missing a couple of pieces. You were relying on the likes of Tyler Lancaster and Dean Lowry to be beasts up front. They just never were. So I'm not going to lay it all at Aaron Rodgers' feet. I think what you're going to look back at on this is you're going to say, you had an incredible quarterback in your stable for 15 plus years. And when you really had the opportunity to kind of go for it and push all those chips to the middle of the table, there was always a reason not to do it. And you look at a team like, say, was it 2 years ago? You look at LA. Now they're in salary cap jail and they're having issues, but they went for it and they won a championship. So sometimes you got to say, fuck it. You just got to go for it. Push the chips to the middle of the table. Let's gamble. We've got everything. We've got the best quarterback in the league. And sometimes they just didn't do that. And when they finally started to do it, it was too little too late, So anyway, that's all that kind of stuff. That's where it came from. That's all that kind of stuff. When it comes to Trey Wingo, the report, and Rodgers to the Jets, my assumption is that he's the ball is now rolling and he's going to end up as a New York Jet. And Trey Wingo's been a long time, very, very good reporter. So I don't doubt him. It's easy for me to believe. Just because Adam Schefter and Ian Rappaport aren't getting spoon-fed the information from the people in the NFL and Diana Rossini and anybody else for that matter, doesn't mean it's not happening. So I'll follow Trey down this primrose path, see what happens. So, hey, I just wanted to say hi to everybody. I wanted to explain it. I wanted to talk a little bit about it. I wanted to get a little bit of your conversation in tonight. Kevin says, the question is that nobody answers. How many years is a Super Bowl win good for? Meaning that if you go all in, hang on a second, I got to get back to you. Hold on, because people are doing so much of this. Okay, Kevin says, and I think it's a worthwhile question. Let's talk about this for just a second. The question is that nobody answers. How many years is a Super Bowl win good for? Meaning you go all in and win it. How many seasons are you allowed to suck? Well, let's ask Cincinnati, Cleveland, Detroit, Carolina, Jacksonville, Tennessee. Let's ask how they'd feel about it in Las Vegas. Prior to Patrick Mahomes winning it, ask how they would feel. You kind of get my drift? You just got to get there. Let the chips fall where they may after the fact, but you just got to get there. You just need that championship. And if any one of those teams that I just mentioned, including, say, Buffalo, They'd give their nut to get one. The Jets, look at what the Jets are doing. Ask the Jets if they get Rodgers and they win a Super Bowl this year, how long that'll go for. They've been living off of Joe Namath all this time. That's their history. Think about that. If you go all in and you don't get another one for a couple of years or 10 years, you've got one. What you'll always look back at and say is, we had a great team. We just didn't do this or that. And the one thing they always tell you, and Ron Wolf used to tell me this all the time, you hate to live with a regret. He regrets that he didn't give Brett Favre enough weapons. He regrets that he didn't do enough to fortify that line some years and to get another pass catching tight end besides Bubba Frank. So he'll tell you that. He'll tell you that. I grew up in Cincinnati. They've never won a Super Bowl. So ask those fans how many years you're allowed to suck if you go for it right now and you win one. You know what? We celebrate the Milwaukee Brewers' 1982 championship run, and they've never won a championship. And we revere those guys like gods, right? I mean, you get a championship, that just changes things. Ask Minnesota. Ask Minnesota. Right? Minnesota would finally be able to just take all that fart air out of that trophy case and waft it out and then be able to put a trophy in there. Ask Minnesota. So I wanted to touch base with you tonight. I wanted to be able to chat with you a little bit and talk about this because I think it was worth. Troy says we never ran Yount out of town. No, Yount wanted to stay. Yount wanted to stay. Molitor didn't, but Yount wanted to stay. Yount wanted to remain here his entire career. And also, it's apples to oranges. It's the point is that Brewers fans would give anything to get a championship at this point, right? So there you go. That's it. So thanks to everybody for joining on the Bud Light live stream tonight and hanging out with us a little bit. We certainly appreciate it. I am going to watch a little NBA hoops. I'm going to drink my bourbon. I have got, for those of you that are sitting there, and I didn't drink a beer tonight. Actually, I was feeling like a spotted cow, actually. I was thinking of spotted cow tonight, but I didn't. I got a good Macanudo M in my hand, good Macanudo. And I'm going to call it an evening. And so that'll do it. And then we're going to talk about it again tomorrow. And for all of you who, want to scream and yell and rip and everything, okay, that's fine. But just make sure, okay, between you and me, okay, let's make a deal. You want to? Let's make a deal. If this happens, Rodgers is traded. We wake up tomorrow. All the details are starting to get worked out. You're starting to hear this matriculate. Rodgers goes on McAfee, said, yeah, I said yesterday, blah, blah, blah. Okay. You come back to me and you go, you know what? You trusted Trey Wingo, man. Kudos. Okay. Right? Now, if tomorrow works out and Rodgers said, I never said anything to anybody. I didn't say anything to anybody in the Jets. I didn't do shit. And Trey Wingo's full of shit. I will go on the air and say, we followed Trey Wingo down a primrose path. All right. And I'll say that. Deal? Deal? All right. That'll do it. All right. Thanks for watching tonight. Certainly appreciate it.